Hey everyone, it's Charlie. It's July 14th, Tuesday. And Goldman Sachs came out with record earnings today. Not a surprise because yesterday Meredith Whitney came out on CNBC and announced that she's upgrading them, I think from a hold to a buy, and that they would probably beat the street's estimates on earnings. And they came out today, and they certainly did. They not only beat them, they shattered them. As a matter of fact, it was record earnings that they posted. And it's, obviously it's not a surprise that this company has been chosen by the band of Wall Street brothers to not only survive in this economic crisis, but thrive. You got to look at the irony of the worst meltdown economically in globally since the Great Depression, and how this bank can come out just not even a year since the stock market crash and post record earnings numbers. Does anybody else find that slightly odd? If it wasn't a rigged game, that would be odd. But because it is rigged, it isn't odd at all. It's expected. And after months and months of you being fed a diatribe of banks have to come out of this first and then the rest of the economy will follow, or pick your slogan of the week, green shoots, employment is a lagging indicator, they'll lead us, financials will lead us out of this recession. You've been conditioned to believe that these super elite must be made whole and must be doing well before you have a chance of doing well. See, these guys don't create anything. They don't create anything but paper and hope. I mean, that's what they're creating. And their propaganda wing, the five major corporations that own 90% of the media that you get to digest, they're in the same camp. And they're the ones who are putting up the never-ending line that we need Wall Street for Main Street. And it's going to end up in history as the biggest ripoff in the planet's history, and a bunch of sheep that just marched in lockstep to their doom. And that might sound dramatic and over the top, but I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the last several months. We have Paulson go before Congress and basically say $700 billion or it's over. Okay, they get that money, right? They get that money to cover their own gambling problem that they had, their own casino environment that they created. They get this money, and it isn't like fictitious monopoly money. We in the truther / in the Fed type genre like to refer to it as fake fiat money. But the fact of the matter is, every dollar that the Federal Reserve creates, you and I get to pay for. That's coming out of our pockets in one way or another, either in future labor or in future assets that you have. They don't create it and then just say it's there. It's you get to pay for it. They can create all they want. They can use any tactic they want to create it. But you get to end up paying for it. So they create all this money that you and I are responsible for to make the banks whole, because they have told the Congress that if they don't, we're going to have an absolute complete meltdown in the economy. Okay, so the whole country, indeed the whole world, panics, and we end up with this huge sell-off, pandemonium in the streets. But don't worry, we have a solution. We're going to let the Federal Reserve, the Treasury, they're going to handle it all. They're going to go into hyperspeed and take care of all of our problems by creating, lending, combining, consolidating. You won't understand it all, but just trust me, it'll be all right at the end of it. So it starts with 700, then it goes to this ridiculous special interest stimulus package. It doesn't create any jobs, but it's a mandatory rush through. Save the economy. Let's save it. Let's create some fear. None of it is designed to save Main Street. The proof is in the pudding. The 8.5 worst case scenario, we passed that not even halfway through the year. Meredith Whitney, who obviously her word is so powerful, she announces Goldman Sachs good numbers are coming, and Wall Street has a 185-point rally. She comes out and says that unemployment's going to be at 15%. Now, if she sees that, Meredith Whitney, this isn't a alternative media person. This is mainstream Meredith Whitney. She sees 15% unemployment. But Joe Biden says that everybody missed it. Nobody saw this coming. All right, well, so 15% unemployment happens, and the U3 figure. The U6 figure right now, when we're sitting at 9.5%, is over 16%. When we're at 15% with the U3, what's that going to be? 28, 30%? That's worse than the Great Depression. But don't worry about it, because the banks will be whole. They'll have money. They'll have plenty of money to buy up whatever you have left. They can kick you out of your house. They're going to be made whole, one way or the other. You can lose everything. You can have to get in line to get a handout of a 5-pound block of cheese and a gallon of milk. That's okay, as long as the banks are healthy. A lot of people that I've talked to think that I'm just absolutely blowing everything out of proportion. And it's that mentality. That same exact mentality is what kept thousands, if not millions of people hitting the streets today. And why should they have hit the streets? For this very same reason that everybody's celebrating on Wall Street. Because Goldman Sachs had record earnings. That should be an outrage to the American people. Because the economy is getting worse and worse and worse. And as it gets worse, they're getting richer. For doing nothing. For worse than doing nothing. For creating the problem, they're getting made not only whole, but having record earnings on top of it. Why isn't there outrage? Because we're dumbed down, 30-second news bite sheep. And we believe everything that comes across that television or is printed in a newspaper, and we don't take 2 seconds to realize that if we tried to run any aspect of our life the way that our politicians in Washington do, or the criminals on Wall Street do, we will lose everything. But because we don't use common sense in filtering in this garbage that's being pumped towards us, because we don't use our own common sense, we're going to lose everything anyway. I've always said in my videos, someday everyone's going to wake up. Right now there's thousands, maybe a few million who are awake. But in a country of 306 million people, when a handful of them can control the destiny of the nation, there's not enough awake. That's all I got.